What up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Matt Wyatt. So, I recently went out to go see the latest MCU movie called Captain America Brave New World, which is the fourth installment of the Captain American franchise. It's following a couple of years after the Falcon and Winter Soldier, where we're following Sam Wilson as their new Captain America as he's being caught in the middle of an international terrorism, the threat to the assassination attempt on the president, Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford. Now he's going to have to investigate and unravel the mystery of who's responsible for all this. So, I'm not going to lie to you. I was not very that excited for Captain America Brave New World after hearing the rewrites and the behind the scenes drama in the reshoots. Now, I know they went through their only one reshoots. There's been a lot of disinformation about that there was four reshoots and they spent over like $300 million to do the reshoots, which I don't think that that's true at all. They only went through the first reshoots. They started shooting it back in like early 2023. Then the writers and actor strike happened and while they wrapped production. And this was during the time when Bob Chapek, the CEO at Disney, was running at the time. And then after the production wrapped up, he left Disney at the time when Bob Iger and came back into power at CEO at Disney. Then Kevin Feige got his authority back from Marvel Studios and saw the cut of the movie. And there were reports going around when they saw the cut, they thought it was really awful. And they had to go back and do the reshoots and change it up a bit to make this movie more passable from being terrible to being more decent. So I was still a little bit worried. And look, I'm someone that liked the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was their best work for a Disney Plus show. But what I did appreciate, I loved the progression that we were seeing Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson becoming their new Captain America. Personally, I didn't think anybody should have been the next Captain America. I never wanted this whole idea of doing the mantle stuff. There are exceptions. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a completely like against like derivative Marvel DC characters. There are exceptions that it worked if it fits the story and if it makes logical sense, then I can move past it. But I don't like it when they're trying to force the mantle on it just because it's for the comic book fan service. I understand that Sam Wilson was their new Captain America in comic books, and I've heard that Bucky was supposed to be their Captain America in comic books as well. Just because they were in comic books doesn't mean that you should force yourself to have them be these characters just because it was done in the comic books before. And I don't even think Bucky should be their Captain America because he had so many baggage that goes around after being their Hydra's assassin, after being brainwashed by Hydra over the years, and he's still trying to recover from all the tragic experiences that he had to face in his life. So, yeah, I didn't think anybody should have taken on the Captain America. I think that when Steve Rogers stopped being Captain America, it should have been left alone. But you know what? I was willing to move past it and try to give the benefit of doubt for Captain America Brave New World. The trailers have been very decent, but it wasn't enough to increase my excitement, and especially when I knew who was going to be directing this movie. Because I've heard that this guy who directed the Captain America Brave New World, he directed another film that everybody hated, which is Cloverfield Paradox, which was supposed to be the third installment of the Cloverfield franchise. And I haven't seen it. I've only seen the first two, and I've heard terrible things about it. And I was really worried why they had to pick him, and it was kind of a poor choice. But at the time, it was during the era of Bob Chapek as CEO at Disney. He was all about making as many content as they can as fast as they can. And that's why we've been getting a lot of misses from Marvel and Disney in general. We only had a few hits that is very rare. And I was a little bit worried. So, but I was still going to give it the benefit of the doubt after they did a little bit of the reshoots and going with a complete open mind. Now, after coming out of Captain America Brave New World, I will say that this is everything I kind of worried that it would be more of an average mid MCU film and completely a generic. That I will say that let me get into my positives and get that out of the way first before I go into my negatives. I will say that Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson was great in the film. I thought the screen time that he had with him and Harrison Ford's Thunderbolt Ross, which in case you don't know who Thunderbolt Ross was, he's the general that hunted down Bruce Banner in the Incredible Hulk of the 2008, and it was originally played by William Hurt. And then you see him show up as the secretary in Captain America Civil War when he was the one that gave him the Sokovia Accords and have him be in charge with these heroes and have them do what they say and what they should do. And it nearly tore the Avengers apart. Then he made an appearance in Infinity War, then Endgame, then Black Widow. Then he passed away a few years ago. So they went and recast Harrison Ford for the role to carry on that role. And in this role, Thunderbolt Ross is now the president of the United States, and now he's trying to change his ways of how he should get things done and completely change his vision about the Avengers and try to rebuild it so that they can make a better world. And this was more of his redemption arc in Captain America Brave New World. And the screen time that they have with him and Sam Wilson was one of my favorite parts of the movie that really worked. And there were moments where I got choked up when they were having when Sam was having a little pep talk with Harrison Ford with Thunderbolt Ross. I thought it was really good. And there were some action fight scenes that I thought it was very entertaining at times. They weren't perfect. The aerial combat in the third act, when we see him in his sidekick Joaquin, who is supposed to be their new Falcon, when they're flying and fighting against these fighter jets, when the U.S. and the Japan were about to go to war with one another because of everything that's been going around with someone who's pulling the strings and trying to break out the war between Japan and the U.S. But I'm not going to go far into the details of the plot point. But that part in the aerial combat in the Indian Ocean, where it's now called the Celestial Island, where the Celestial has been in the ocean for some time and after the events of Eternals, that was one of my favorite parts of the movie that I really got that I was really entertained from the aerial combat. That was really cool to watch. The one with the Sam in versus Red Hulk was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Like I wasn't a fan of how they wrapped up that fight, but it was a really cool fight to watch. And Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk and seeing the look of the CGI, I felt like I was going back to the Raging Hulk that I've always wanted because for a while I was not a fan of how they watered down Bruce Banner's Hulk. I made an exception for Endgame because it made sense for the story, but then as time's gone on, when we see him in She-Hulk, they have gotten worse and worse and they completely watered down. So I thought it was a change of pace and refreshing to get back to seeing the Raging Hulk that I've always wanted, and the look of how Harrison Ford looked as Red Hulk was awesome. And the acting with Anthony Mackie was good, and it was some good parts of it at times. I will say that there's a returning character that get their moment with him and Sam Wilson was definitely one of my favorite parts of the movie. I really enjoy that. Now on to negatives. The writing itself was very messy. It was all over the place. The dialogue itself was not that good. It was mediocre. The humor did not stick the landing, and these characters had been forced into these crazy pointless exposition in the middle act of the movie that kind of dragged on, and it felt like these were two MCU projects that was mission one. A lot of people are saying that this is more of the season two of the Falcon and Winter Soldier mixed with the Incredible Hulk 2008 sequel. And after watching that movie, I completely agree. Now, the one positive thing I forgot to mention is Isaiah Bradley. I thought Isaiah Bradley was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Now, in case you don't know who Isaiah Bradley is, he's the character that appeared in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. He was their next super soldier during the time, I believe, was like in the 60s or 70s or something. He was secretly their super soldier that was their government lab rat, and they kept him in secret for so long until at the end of the finale of the Falcon Winter Soldier, Sam Wilson brought his name and his history out in the open public domain, and now everybody knows his history and he's remembered. I thought his arc was so good. I just wish they would have given him more, and I was a little disappointed that they sidelined him majority of the movie. But anyway, yes, the dialogue was really bad. The writing was a big mess, and it was suffering an identity crisis where it tries to be like season two of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and it tries to be like the sequel of the Incredible Hulk, and it just didn't mesh well. And I was disappointed of how they handled the Red Hulk because he's only in there for 5 minutes, and they heavily marketed him as the heavy point of the movie, and we thought we were going to get more. And everything you saw in the trailers and the TV spots, it's in the movie. Like, I know it's a minor spoiler, but I'm sorry to say this. Keep your expectations low when you go into this movie. And this is more of an average MCU film, and it's really mid at its best. It's really nothing, add anything new. It just felt like they were trying so hard to tie up loose ends for the Incredible Hulk sequel with Thunderbolt Ross's story arc, and also tying up loose ends of the Celestial, of the being that was shown from the internals, and acknowledging of what happened afterwards, because now it has been introduced with a new mineral called adamantium, which it was cool that they want to bring in adamantium as their new thing for the coming from the X-Men, because originally with the vibranium shield that they use in the MCU, it was originally named as adamantium in comic books from the X-Men universe and the Marvel universe, and they couldn't use the word adamantium at the time because they did not have the rights to the X-Men. And they haven't bought Fox yet, so they had to change the name to vibranium. Now they want to bring in adamantium, and they wanted to make it more stronger, more powerful than vibranium itself, which to me it was more of a plot device to push the protagonist further and furthering the story. And to me, I didn't think it was quite needed. Another negative, I will say, that Giancarlo Esposito, who's playing one of the villains in the movie, he's barely in it much. He was just a sideline majority of the time, and he wasn't really the main antagonist, but I kind of expect more of him. And he originally was not supposed to be in the original cut of the film. He was part of the reshoots, and he's supposed to be like his Red Skull to Sam Wilson's Captain America, from what I've heard. I don't know much about his character, Seth Volker. I don't know much about him from comic books. I've seen what he looked like in the comic books, and they completely went outside the source material. And look, all due respect to Giancarlo Esposito, I love him as an actor. I love him in Breaking Bad. I love him in The Mandalorian show. I love him in a lot of roles. But majority of the time, he's just been typecast playing the same villain role. He's really playing the same person in every movie and show he's in. And it kind of just feels like weird and odd that they're not giving him an opportunity to branch out and do other things. And he also played the main villain in Far Cry 6 game. He's literally playing the same person in every show, in every medium. It just feels like he's just a typecast role, and not giving him a chance to branch out of his capability as an actor. And I'm kind of getting a little bit fatigued every time I see him on screen. And look, look, he can crush it as a villain. There's no doubt about it. He is an incredible actor. I have all respect for him. I'm not trying to bash on him. And Shira Haas, who's playing Sabra, who is supposed to be one of the president's bodyguard in the movie, and she's coming from the background of the Red Room of the Black Widow. And I'm sorry, her character was completely useless. I did not like her at all. Her acting was really bad. I don't know if it was because of the direction and the writing, but I thought her acting was really terrible. And her physique and her height. I mean, I don't mean to nitpick, but I'm sorry. I'm not buying her as a badass. I'm not. It was not believable. She was so cringy to watch, and it was just, I could not take her seriously. Take her out of the movie, it wouldn't have changed any of the outcome of the plot. It would not have. It would still remain the same. And coming back to the action set pieces, there are fight scenes in the beginning of the movie, especially the beginning of the movie. There's just been some fight scenes that felt very stale and clunky, and it just did not work. It was not very smooth and fluid than I imagined it would be. It was just completely poorly choreographed and poorly edited. Sure, there are a couple of fight scenes that stuck the landing and it worked, but the rest of it was just really bad. I will say that the actor who played Joaquin in the movie, he was supposed to be their new Falcon and Sam's new sidekick. And if you remembered him, he made an appearance and introduction in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which he's not in it much. He only had a couple episodes appearances, and that's about it. He felt very a one-note character, and in this one, he still felt very one note. I wanted to really like his character. I wanted to explore his arc, but they didn't really give him much to do. He was just kind of there to support Sam Wilson, and that's about it. And he really wants to become like Sam. He wants to become the Falcon. He wants to do good, and he wants to become part of the Avengers. That's cool and all, but I just didn't really care too much about him. And the actor who plays Joaquin, I can't remember his name on the top of my head, but I remembered him from Top Gun Maverick, and I thought he was really good. He's really really good actor. I just think that the writing and how they handle him and how they used him was so poorly handled. And if they'd taken him out of there, I don't think it would have changed anything. And my biggest takeaway of this movie was Sam Wilson being the new Captain America. This film has done nothing to prove that he is the leader of the Avengers and that he could be the face of the MCU, like Steve Rogers as Captain America and Tony Stark's Iron Man. No, he's not. And I love Anthony Mackie as an actor, but him as the leading role, he just hasn't proven that he has enough charisma to carry a film and carry the whole MCU as a franchise. I'm sorry, he hasn't done anything. I don't know if it's because of the direction that they did in this movie that did him dirty, especially with the writing. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe when we see Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, that might change that because now it's going to be in the hands of the Russo brothers. But for this movie in particular, it just did not work. And I'm sorry to say this. I know a lot of you guys are going to probably fight me in the comments section, but he's not Captain America. I don't care if it was done in comic books. I don't care if you want to consider him now just because he's now their new Captain America. But I just didn't think it was the right decision to have him be the next Captain America. I think they should have just left that alone. He's great as the Falcon. He's great as a supporting character. That's how he was established from the start. Sure, you can arguably say that some supporting characters can rise from the top and carry a movie. That's true, it can. But as of now, he has not done anything to prove that he can carry the MCU. He hasn't. I really wanted to give that a chance, I really do, but it just wasn't as well executed. Maybe in another movie with Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars will prove me wrong and I'll probably eat my words, but as of now, no. He's not the face of the MCU. And I have a feeling that when they built a new team of the Avengers in Avengers Doomsday and how they're going to wrap up Secret Wars of the Multiverse Saga, my gut feeling is that I think they're going to probably reset the whole thing and try to find a way to have them the Fantastic Four and the X-Men exist in the MCU and probably give it a little bit more of a soft reboot. I don't know if it's true. I don't have any insider information, so don't quote me on it. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm just speculating as a fan. Overall, I thought this movie was more of a mid-film and okay at its best. I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 10. Now, I might wake up tomorrow morning and if I see this movie again, I might like it a lot less. It might get worse on the multiple watches. Is it a film that I encourage you to rush out to see? Personally, no. And you might like it, and there are people out there that really did love the movie. Even though that the movie got mixed response, there are some people out there that really loved it and they support it. And don't let my opinion turn you off. Just because I wasn't disappointed by this movie, that doesn't mean that you're not going to love it. You might like it more than I do, and you have every right to like it. If you love this movie, then you should. It's all subjective, and every movie hits people differently. That's the beauty of being a fan, that we are allowed to like different things, and we can agree and disagree and still have a fun discussion. I'm still a little bit worried of how the box office is going to perform. I'm not too worried about on the first weekend, but the second weekend, after hearing the mixed response from critics, sure, the score will probably help a little bit, but I'm feeling it's not going to do well in the second weekend. And we got Thunderbolts coming out. We got the Fantastic Four First Steps coming out. I'm afraid that Thunderbolts is going to perform poorly. Even if the film turns out to be great and it's critically success, but I don't know if it's going to be commercially success. Because you got to think about it as this. When you see these group of band of B-list characters that most people don't always remember. Most people are not going to remember Taskmaster from Black Widow, or Yelena's from Black Widow, or John Walker from the Falcon and Winter Soldier. They're only going to remember mostly Bucky. Bucky is the only one that most people know and love. They're not going to remember much with Red Guardian or Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. They're mostly most forgettable characters that are now being brought in, and now they're making this more of a Guardians of the Galaxy meets Suicide Squad type of movie. And look, I really enjoyed what I've seen in the trailers. I'm not too concerned that this movie is going to be bad. I think it's going to be really damn good and entertaining, and I'm more excited for the Fantastic Four more than any other MCU movie that has come out this year. And I'm very excited for Daredevil Born Again. They had to go back to the drawing board and start from scratch and canonize the Daredevil Netflix series. And the trailer slaps. And I'm so excited that we're only a month away and I can't wait. And from what I've heard, they just started shooting Daredevil season 2. That just shows you that they have a lot of confidence that the show is going to be successful for Daredevil Born Again. They're showing more confidence with Thunderbolts in Fantastic Four more than they did with Brave New World. I think that this is going to be a little bit of a step back. Hopefully, they can recover and give us a big win because we need a win for the MCU. I'm not too concerned with DC because I have faith in what James Gunn is doing with the DCU and his direction and his shared cinematic universe. Because for those of you who've been following me on my channel, you know that James Gunn's Superman movie is my most anticipated film of the year, and I'm looking forward to the other comic book movies with Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts. But Superman. Oh my God, that I have a feeling that that's going to be a win. But who knows? It might suck. We can only hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Now, what did you think of Captain America: Brave New World? Were you satisfied with it, or were you on the same boat as me in that you thought it was a disappointment? Just let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, but also keep it short and don't make it too long. That's all I'm saying. Just give me your initial thoughts, and that's it. And if you like this video, make sure you give this a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm and it shows you that you support my channel. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications so you know when my videos come up. I do small talk every Tuesday with two co-hosts of mine, Ryan Cam and 3D Movie Cinema. I do the Batman Mentary where we do the commentary on every Batman movies. We've already wrapped up with Batman and Robin, and I'm excited to get into the next Batman movie. And yeah, definitely check that out. And I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from. And I hope you guys stay safe and take care and stay tuned for more of my content.